When making an indie film, what's the best approach towards rehearsals? Hi, I'm Bill Hutchens. And the first thing to say is that there's two schools of thought, I suppose, broadly speaking. One is you do rehearsals, and the other is that you come in fresh, and rehearsals may not allow you to go to places that you would naturally go to if you hadn't had rehearsals. So it's a spontaneous, organic kind of reaction to whatever goes on in the scene. Or there's the do rehearsals approach. Excuse me. So, and I think most people lean towards the do rehearsals approach for a number of reasons, which I'll come on to. The thing is that with indie film, you don't always get that luxury. Both as an actor and as a director myself, there's been plenty of times where it's just, as an actor, you just turn up, be ready, and do your stuff. And if there's any tweaking of the scenes or lines or anything, you do it on the fly. As a director, you simply may not have the budget or the time to have rehearsals, because sometimes you have to act very, very quickly and people just aren't available, or you don't have funds to even buy people sandwiches and coffee sometimes while doing rehearsals, even if they agree to do them. So it's difficult. It's very difficult. You have to deal with what's in front of you. You know, what's on your plate. Can you have them? Can you not? The people available? Have you got any money? Which is always the big one. So the benefits of rehearsals, and I'm going to look to do them wherever I can, whenever I can, because I don't think that they restrict good actors, because good actors can go in any direction at any time usually. And as I said in my previous video, one of the big benefits is just hearing the lines out loud, and you can really realize which lines are clunky, which lines are working, and the actors will come with their thoughts on the lines and what works and what doesn't, and you can really shape the dialogue for the characters and to deliver what you need from the scene through rehearsals. I don't believe in really locking it in hard, because even if we rehearse, on the day, if you and I are in a scene, something could happen. This crazy chemistry thing can take you in different directions that, rehearsing didn't. And I'm not a big fan of going 100% in rehearsals. So when you're there and giving it your all, things happen. Things happen. They just happen. And even if you did go 100% in rehearsals, when it comes to filming, things just happen. So you have to be able to respond to what your character's giving you. Because just a simple change of pacing or tone or volume or anything from your scene partner will elicit a different response from you unconsciously. So rehearsing all the lines, getting all that right, rehearsing, just sitting I consider it part of rehearsing, just talking with the actors about their ideas of the characters, my idea of what the scene's all about. I like to speak in general terms. I like a lot of input from the actors because the character's their responsibility. My responsibility is the story. So I like to do that, and it saves a lot of time if you can have all those discussions, make changes to lines, dialogue, staging. You can walk through the action as you see it, and the actors will have input to that. And things may not feel comfortable for their character. They feel, or why is so and so walking from here to here when there's no reason. You can work through all of that in rehearsals, and you don't have to have a wonderful space to do it in, or something that's identical to what the scenes, the set is going to be. You just need a place. And while I'm talking about that, I think, just to finish on the blocking and things, doing all that is going to save you an enormous amount of time and allow you to focus on the meat of the scene, what you're trying to get across, rather than trying to work out what's gone wrong with the blocking and how it feels, just doesn't feel right. And hopefully you can get the bulk of that done in rehearsals, so you have more time to focus on the thing that everyone wants to focus on, and that's making the scene work. Location. If you get a chance to rehearse, do it wherever you can, of course. But I find that having a neutral location works best because, for one, if you're in someone's home, then you're susceptible to interruptions because life goes on. And having a neutral place allows you to shut off all of that. You turn your phones off and you just focus, and it's really, really helpful. And it doesn't have to be, an expensive place you have to hire for a few hours of the day or whatever, however long you're rehearsing. You can do it in a park if you have to. Just do it, just find somewhere private, I think is good, because you want everyone to feel comfortable expressing themselves. And when you're doing scenes, it often involves a lot of emotional courage, and you want people to feel they can say and do anything in a secure environment. One of the other things with rehearsals is that it helps everyone else. I mean, you're not always going to have, when you're filming and you do a run through before you shoot, then the whole crew's going to see what's going on. But if you can get as much information to them beforehand, then it's obviously going to make their lives easier. And if it makes their lives easier, then again, with less time focusing on all that stuff, more time focusing on delivering the best scene we can as a team. And even things like, even if you've got tape on the ground and bits of tape, and you work out the blocking, and if you have a table here and something here, and maybe you've already gone through that with a design person, but when you do the rehearsals, it changes. So it'd be great if you could just, even if you take a picture of the tape on the floor saying, we've moved the table to here, if the bookcase could be over here, that'd be fantastic. And even if you send something like that to the design person, it's going to make their life easier, and they're going to be better prepared come shoot day. And that applies to everyone. If you originally thought when you sat down with a cinematographer that we're going to shoot it like this, so they would have ideas, about shots and they'd be thinking about lighting and where to put it and all that. But if you move all that around rehearsal, they want to know, of course they'll want to know. And the same for every department. Sound will be affected, makeup, we may change things, costume, anything can change in rehearsals. That's the point of it. So if it does, you've got to get that information to the relevant departments, because it's going to make their life easier, and that'll make filming day easier. And anyone that's done an indie film will tell you filming days are intense. They're long, they're pressured, because you don't have the luxury of filming a page a day that you might on a bigger production. You're doing multiple pages, at least 6 or 7, I would suggest. If you think about it, if you've got, even if you have a 3-week shoot of a 90-page script, working 6 days a week, that's 5 pages a day. And that can be quite a lot, especially if there's action and, things are going to go wrong. So usually it turns out to be, in effect, be more than 5 pages a day, assuming you've got 3 6-day weeks available to you to shoot. Because an indie film, that's also a bit of a luxury, because that requires significant budget. Kin Spirits was shot with the way I think I mentioned in a previous video, that we got a location, got the team together, shot all the scenes of that location, and then we had to wait until we got another location, and then we filmed those scenes. And there was quite a bit of time between some of them. And of course, finding to do it each time was an exercise as well. Okay, I made a couple of notes, and I know I've sort of rambled on there and gone off on a few tangents, but staging, camera sets, sound, logistics, where to rehearse, when to do them is another question. Excuse me. Obviously you do them whenever you can. And what is the right amount of time before you shoot to rehearse? That's an excellent question, because everyone's different. If it was me personally, I would like, both as an actor and as a director, I would like, a chunk of time, I don't know, at least a month, ideally even maybe a bit more, before you film to do rehearsals, because that gives, if you need to give information to the crew, gives them plenty of time to adapt. And for the actors, it allows time for what you've rehearsed to sink in. So they have some time to let it brew in the back of their mind. As you know from previous videos, I'm a big fan of that. And, after some time you might think, it allows you time to realize that the path you were on in rehearsals, might have been wrong. It gives you a chance to adapt, And the same for me as the director. If I think, oh, fantastic, everything's sorted out, scenes are all sorted, the actors are on the money, we've got it all sorted out, and you sort of leave it to brew, and then 2 weeks later you realize, oh, can't do that, because that's going to mess up this thing later on in the film. So you need to adapt. You need to give yourself time to adapt. So that's certainly, I certainly think, ideally you'd have a chunk of time between rehearsing and filming. Now, as I said at the start, that can be a real luxury for indie filmmaking, because certainly as an actor, and I don't think I've done any rehearsing as a director that I can remember. I could be wrong, except maybe a discussion and maybe a bit of a read in a coffee shop or something like that, but not full-on rehearsing in any of the things I've done to date. But I'm definitely going to do it for everything I do in the future, if possible, because the big thing is time and money. And if you just have to turn up and give it a crack, then sometimes you just have to turn up and give it a crack. That's life. That's the life of indie filmmaking. So, yeah. Oh, I'm just cleaning my glasses. I hope that's not too crackly. Okay, let me see what else I've forgotten to say. Yeah, all the crew stuff. Girl. I mean, as I just touched on about reading, to date, all I've done is, I think at best, read over the script in a coffee shop or something. And if that's all you can do it, because it helps. It helps. And like I said last week, hearing the things out loud, it really changes your mind on what works and what doesn't work. So even if all you do is find a quiet little coffee shop and get the cast, or the key cast at least, and read through over a few coffees and pastries. Never need an excuse for that, but it helps. It all helps. I think that's it. I think it just helps you hone in on what's important, realize what's not working and what's not important. You might discover this whole scenes you ditch because you don't need them. And the actors and the crew will come with questions like, why is this happening? Do we really need to do this? And you realize, no, sometimes you don't really need to do these things. Or they may come, cast or crew, to you and say, I think we really need to add in this thing or this scene or whatever it is. And, that may well be the case. A good one for that is editors. If you can show as much to an editor before you start filming, that can be really, really helpful, because they'll say, oh, well, can't really jump from here to here. I think you need something in here to bridge that in a story sense. Enormously helpful, because in a perfect world, and often in an indie world, you can't go back and do reshoots or extra shoots or anything like that, because people have moved on, all the rest. So as much of that information as you can get up front, the better. I'm trying to think of anything else about rehearsals. Just on actually quite an important one, on a human sense, just spending time with those people, having the actors spending a little time with each other, spending a little time with the crew. It just helps with bonding as humans. And it's really important, especially on indie films, I think, where you often have a small team and being tight-knit and supporting each other is really important. So having that time for human relations, I think, is extremely helpful. I hope you can't hear my tummy grumbling, but it has been. So I best end here, I think. I can't think of anything else to say anyway. Rehearsals? No. I think I've broadly covered it. If you think of anything else I've missed out, just leave me a comment. Thanks for watching. It'd be great if you could like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you'd like to support me further, you can buy me a coffee. There's a link in the description below. I hope to see you in the next one.